What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking a look at the early access of Tower Tactics Liberation. This is a tower defense game that has also been hybridized with a lot of the ideas from Slay the Spire, and I think that's a good thing. I personally have never been a big fan of tower defense games, not because I have a big problem with tower defense games in the first place, but largely because I feel like tower defense games have been really stale and sort of relegated to mobile titles for a long time. I think that what they're doing with Tower Tactics Liberation is a step in the right direction, hybridizing the gameplay with other attributes in order to make things a little bit more interesting, a little bit more unique, I guess, and a little bit more novel. And so anyways, if after watching this video you wanted to get the game for yourself, I got a link for you down below in the description. On top of that, you'll also be able to find a link to my Twitch stream and my Discord, where you're more than welcome to join me live on any given day and pick my brain about any of the games that have been on the channel. I've spent about 5 hours with Tower Tactics Liberation, and I think it's pretty fun. I like it. I enjoy it. And so anyways, let's dive on in. We've got about 25-30 minutes to kill in order to show you as much gameplay as possible and figure out whether this is the right game for you. In addition, if you find that you do like Tower Tactics Liberation, I also recommend Rogue Tower. It's one of those releases that I missed, but it's also kind of barking up the same tree and pushing out in the same direction, and is also a lot of fun. Along the way, I'm going to try to give you my thoughts about the game. I'll try to compile them at the end into kind of like a 3-minute speech about what I do and don't like about the game. But let's get going. As of right now, my progression is okay. I'm about at level 9. You have stats that dictate all the things about your run. There are also differing starting decks, I guess, quote unquote. This game does have a deck building component to it, where your towers and your magic spells are kind of linked to what cards you have. We have 3 different things right now. We've got the Leading Legacy, we've got the Wandering Colossus, and we've got the Holy Guild. I've got another one coming up the next time that I level. I've played quite a bit of Leading Legacy. I've played some of Wandering Colossus. I'm at the point where I can pretty much get to, like, the last boss every single time on Ascension 0 without too many problems, but, like, whether I win or not is largely dictated by what I've picked up along the way and if I've gotten, like, the cards and, like, the variety that I want to get. We'll start off with the Leading Legacy, and we will go with 10% health isn't too bad. We'll add that on in. This is the progression system of the game, and it is procedural. It's got a little bit of like a Diablo 2 bent to it. So basically what happens is every time you win the game, or you make it like a certain distance on into the game, you get these little runes, and you can slot them in. They'll give you stuff like extra starting money. They'll give you like range modifiers on your towers, attack speed modifiers, things like that. You can see what you can get right here. I do think that the opacity of this menu needs to be scaled up. I don't like the way that you can kind of see the background menus, sort of, I guess, not dithering, but showing through the actual tiles right here. I'd recommend giving this a bit of opacity and then dimming out the background so that this is a little bit more apparent. But you do get currency on your runs depending on how far you go that allows you to buy more runes that'll have kind of like randomly generated stats on them. I don't really have enough right now for anything that I might actually want. I was kind of pushing for sort of some of the uncommon ones. And so, unfortunately, these are pretty much the ones that have dropped for me as I've been going. Let's start the game. Alright, so the Salkoth have arrived in our sector. Our quest for liberation is about to begin. However, first we must decide upon how we are going to prepare for war. We can lose luck. That's going to lower our crit chance, but give us a bunch of money. We can get 30 crystals. We can lose money and then gain health. We can get a random card and remove a card. I'll probably just go with the 30 bucks for free. Normally, I like to take cards at the beginning, but it kind of is what it is. Let's go ahead and we will step on into this event down here. While traveling, you receive a message from a nearby spaceship. Are you part of the Interdimensional Prosperity Union? I can do repairs on your ship completely free of charge. Yeah. Let's go ahead and, what do I have on my deck right now? So I've got basic archers, basic bombers. Let's go ahead and upgrade one of our basic cards into a non-basic version. So that has given us a actual archer, which is just flatly better than the basic archer. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for us to combine our towers. This game has kind of a clumping rule set where if you have a certain amount of towers that match each other, they turn into like a higher level, better version. But for right now, let's go ahead and take on some enemies right here. This is what combat looks like inside the game. It's going to show you the path the enemy's going to run on. Blue tiles, they give you no particular bonus. Yellow tiles will give you an attack speed and a range bonus. We've started out with 2 mana. We generate 2 mana per turn. That's going to allow us to put some things down on the field of play, although not very much. We can really only put in a basic archer right there. That sort of works out. I feel like I can't decide if we're going to get better mileage putting it one forward, but let's go ahead. Your mana in this game is actually different from other games. If you don't spend your mana, you keep it, and it just stacks up over the turns, so that you can have crazy wild turns where you put down like a million different things. On top of that, you can increase your mana generation. This guy right here is for spells, so stuff like Fireball, basically blue cards, are using the bottom mana, and then the purple cards are using the top mana. I'm going to go ahead and put in another archer right here, and then we'll put in a basic archer right there. And then we'll just call in the next wave. These guys do all have stats, and you can slow the game down to whatever speed you find to be the most relevant. I usually play on 50% speed just because it allows me to line up shots with my spells a little bit better. But if I'm like breezing through and I'm not really having any problems, then I'll usually just swap up to like 1.5. We got another archer right there, and as you can see, it clumped, and it's combined now into a level 2 archer, which has way more range, way more attack speed, and way more damage. That's good. I'll probably also put a bomber right there so that we can get some AoE damage flowing. And I don't think we're going to have any major problems. That's a berserker, so it moves faster the more damage that it's sustained. It's not going to help it. The thing's still going to go down. We'll go ahead and grab 29 crystals right there. We'll add a card to our deck. We've got a beam cannon, so we get less mana per turn. But this will stun enemies, and it's really, really strong. I don't like it. The Arcane Resonator creates copies of the last non-enchantment spell cast. Not really anything in that batch of cards that I want to add into my overall strategy. I would recommend that we take elite fights if we can. This game is very much the same as Slay the Spire or like Monster Train or any of those games. I found that my success is directly linked to how many elite fights I take, even though they're risky, because the amount of relics that you get that sort of modify what all your stuff does, very, very important as you get further on into the game. We'll go ahead and, I don't know where a good spot to pinch these guys is at. Maybe on this corner right here. We can start on this corner, I guess. We'll save our mana for right now. We'll call in a wave. We shouldn't have too many enemies coming. Anti-mage. Oh, he just streamed right through. He didn't even care. All right, we'll fireball him real fast to avoid early game damage. We can get another archer right here, and we can get a bomber right there. I would recommend that we come up and acquire some kind of slowing utility to make our life a little bit easier. I'm going to go and stun him right there with a thunderbolt spell so that the towers finish him off. I would like another basic archer. And we're just going to have to hold with that for right now. We do have a lightning spell, though, that we can use to stun enemies and keep them inside the range of our towers. And in fact, you are going to have to do micro like that. Otherwise, you're not going to make it on the elite fights. We've got a little bit of extra mana. I'm going to say an archer right there, a basic archer right there. We've got another thunder spell, so we do have a little bit of like a oh damn button just in case they stream on through us. Not too bad. Didn't have to use the spell, so I'm happy about that. I'll probably slap another bomber right there and another archer right there. And we'll keep it cruising. We've got 10 waves that we need to resolve. Tower should get him just fine, so we're all right. I will go for another archer so that we get a tier 2 archer, and then we'll put a basic archer right there. That should actually make this stack or this line a little bit tougher. Go ahead and stun them right there just to give us a little bit more time. And we've got nothing but a bomber right here, but the bomber's fine. We've been able to upgrade that to a tier 2 bomber, which I think is really, really good, in fact. That's going to bring our DPS up pretty considerably. We'll stun them right there just to make sure that they go down, and we're good to go. I do like the balance between kind of like passive and active gameplay in this game. So like you can sort of build a deck that plays passively with just like a very, very tight strategy. Or you can, like, use lots of spells and stuff to actively play the game and use very, very few towers. It's really up to you how you want to dive on into the game. Your towers can upgrade to level 3, and that's denoted by the little star that's on their card right there. Now, the axe is their attack power. The axe with the little swift lines behind it is their attack speed. That's how many times they fire per second. And then you've also got your armor piercing and your range right there on the other stats. Let's go ahead and I'll put in another archer. And actually, we have 2 basic archers now. Very nice. That should be good. This wave may get through because we don't really have any utility spells to slow down the attack. So there's a decent chance that if they don't clump up and get taken out by the... Okay, we're good. All right, that's fine. I only really got an archer to play right there, so I guess I'll put it in. We do have some thunder spells, and they are clumped up a little bit. We'll stun them right there. Very nice. They're all down and ready to go. We've got 3 mana to play around with. I'd probably go with another secondary bomber right there and maybe another archer. Just to start damage off a little bit sooner and a little bit simpler. And that's going to be our final elite wave. It didn't actually feel much like an elite fight. We did a great job. So we got 20 crystals right there. We get to add a card to our deck. We've got a runic extractor. That'd be for spell power builds. That's going to allow us to regenerate mana every turn. We've got the impact sprayer. The impact sprayer is pretty good. Basically what it does is it machine guns bullets randomly in a direction. And when it does that, what it will do is it deals damage and gets a multiplier based on how wounded they are. And so it's a really, really good tower to put like 4 of them like right here and then put the rest of your defense grid back here so they get softened up by the impact sprayers. And then, you know, once the impact sprayers won't be dealing that much more damage, you have your main hit. We've got the disruptor that lowers their resistances. I think that's a strong play. We've also got the ionized field that's going to slow our enemies down by 10%. That's a really good pickup from our first relic, so I'll take it. I would like to... Let's take the rest site, and we'll upgrade one of our stats, so we now have 3% more range on all of our towers. Very nice. You can also get health back at the rest sites. We'll go for this event right here. Sensors detect spaceships in conflict. However, it seems like only one of them is attacking. It's possible that the Salkoth is assaulting a defenseless civilian. I will take... So it's a 50-50 dice roll to see if we lose health or if we gain a trinket. I'll probably just take the 50 crystals and lose some health right there. We don't even really have any shops on this map. We have that one, but like, you know, another elite fight right here. This should be easy to resolve. We'll put in a disruptor right there. We kind of want the disruptor to be a little bit earlier, and we'll put that right there. We may have to use thunder in order to resolve this fight in a way that's satisfactory. The first waves are always like the roughest waves. We'll put that down right there. Ah, he got through. Okay, we're going to take 1 damage from that. Kind of sucks. You take damage equal to their level, which is the amount of stars that they have on their card. It's okay. The first round is always the most dangerous round. We'll put you in right there. Anti-mage is over here. Shouldn't be too bad. Let's go ahead and stun him right there. Very nice. Okay, so now we've got some mana to play with. Let's get another basic archer. And let's get another solidified archer. If we can keep drawing thunder cards, I think we're in solid shape. But if we can't keep drawing thunder cards, we got problems. Okay, he's fully in range right now. Let's let him get whittled down. Good, perfect. We want to start getting, so we could get, we've got 3 right here. Let's go for another disruptor right there to work on their resistances and a bomber. We do have a fireball if this starts to fall apart. I'm going to slow it down for just a second so that I can really read into what's happening. These guys have no physical armor, which is actually really, really helpful and really good for us. There's a medic in there, so he's going to be regenerating everybody. That's fine. That's no biggie. We can get a level 2 disruptor right now, or we can throw in another bomber. I'm going to say go for another bomber. I like to solidify my DPS first before I start playing around with other stuff. So we've got a 286 health negator right there. However, his defense is rapidly being knocked out. I think we're okay. Looks good. Solid defense. Probably get the level 2 archer right there, and then save the mana for later. Doubling up on his damage and also increasing his attack speed by like double is, I think, a really good place to start. Now, we do have a Juggernaut up here. This guy's going to be really tough to bring down just due to the fact that he has a ton of armor. Hopefully the negators will get his armor down to like a suitable level before they get too far. I would like to stun them right there just for an additive opportunity to get some damage off. And it looks like we've got him. Very nice. Okay. Basic archer, or I guess we can do both. Porque no los dos. So we'll have a level 2 disruptor right there, which fires a lot faster and hits 3 times as hard. And now we've got another level 2 archer right there. There are some little gaps kind of in our defense. You can move these towers around whenever you want in between waves. However, during a wave, you can only place towers from cards that you actively have. You can't move towers around mechanically. So that's something to keep in mind as well, is like once you start the wave, your positions are finalized. But you can add more towers. We'll go ahead and run the stun right there. Very good. I do think that they could punch up the sound effects, so I think the sound design is going to be one of the weaker areas of this game. I'm not a big fan of the soundtrack. They went for kind of like a dreamlike late 90s EDM soundtrack, and I think they would have been much better served to go after something punchier and a little bit more aggressive since we are at war and we're like fighting for our freedom. going for something that was a little bit more synth-wavy or maybe a little bit more operatic, something a little bit more epic sounding, I think would keep people from nodding off during individual waves. I usually just turn off the music and listen to like some kind of Spotify while I'm playing. The other thing is a lot of the sound effects for like the towers are kind of just like very wispy, like pew 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 pews, and like there's hit feedback, but there's no sound effect to go along with the hit feedback when things are being struck. One thing I think the game could do a lot better is if they could go with sound effects that are a little bit more plosive, a little bit more clanky, a little bit more gun-like. I think that would make the game sound a lot better. And then on top of that, I think that like visually it'd be really cool if each of the sprites, since there's not very many of them for the enemies, it would be cool if the sprites actually showed battle damage as they got to like 60% health, 30% health, and then there could be kind of like a clang or like a ka-ting, and like chunks would fly off of them, and you could harvest the chunks, and the chunks would be like a currency that you could use in order to like craft trinkets, or you could save them in between runs to make even further like runes and things like that to kind of buff yourself up for meta progression, or you could just mouse over them and they get sucked up and just give you crystals. I think like something like that would be very, very nice and engaging to kind of keep people like slotted on into the game and like feeling it. Sound design is one thing that I would probably focus on during early access in order to make things feel a little bit better and like boom a little bit better. I think in the case of like tower defense games that are out right now, I think that's something that Rogue Tower does a little bit better. I think this game does meta progression better than Rogue Tower does, but Rogue Tower's sound design and like soundtrack design is far superior. And so, you know, just little observations that I've made along the way. We'll save the rest of our mana right there. I don't actually think we have too many problems at the moment. It seems like we're kind of chewing through them at a really, really satisfying pace. Go ahead and stun them right there, and there you go. We've only got one wave left. I could probably bring on in a basic bomber and then another arrow tower right there, and then I think we can just speed this up pretty safely. I don't think we're going to have too many problems with them running the blockade right now. Yeah, we're golden. 28 crystals, new card. We can get Bullseye, so targets cloaked enemies and stuns from a very long distance. We can get the Inhibitor, but we don't have anything that slows the enemy down, so I don't think that's going to help very much, so we'll take the Bullseye. We've got the Two of Spades. That's going to allow us to duplicate a card. I'm going to say let's duplicate our Archer card. That way I can eliminate the other basic Archer, and then we'll be good to go. We already took the fight right there. We got a boss coming up pretty soon. Let's go for a basic Archer right here, and we'll go for a basic Disruptor right there. Perfect. All right. We've got a Bullseye. Bullseye's really, really good. We'll put a Bullseye in right there. That's going to periodically stun our enemies. And it's actually dealing enough damage to flat out one-shot some of the stuff before it gets to us. Very, very good. Okay. Another Bullseye. Yeah, I'll take a second one. Sounds good to me. We're not saving a whole lot of mana right now, but we are slowing enemy waves down. One thing I'd also like to see is the ability to custom tailor targeting priorities for your towers. So when you click on these right here, a little thing will pop up, and you could prioritize like most health, prioritize most armor, prioritize most magical resist, so on and so forth. I do think that that would help out a lot with target selection as far as the game is concerned. We'll put in a couple more towers right there. And this is just like a baby fight, so like we shouldn't really have too much to worry about when it comes to sort of the invasion of the enemies. All right, so we can go for a basic bomber like right here on the corner. That sounds really, really nice to me. Let's go ahead and slow that down for a second, just in case I need to throw a fireball out here to save ourselves. I don't think I'll need to. Yeah, we're doing okay. I'd like to pick up something like an earthquake turret or pick up something like a ion field turret that'll slow people down. I think that's probably the next thing that I'm looking at as far as making us stronger. Like, I don't know if our build is going to get us through the boss right now because I just don't feel like we have enough slowing utilities and stunning utilities. But we do have a reasonably okay deck right now. These are EMP critters right here. They deploy an EMP that disables your turrets. You can use your mana to reactivate them, but that mechanic's a little bit half-baked in my opinion. It's very, very expensive to reactivate turrets using mana, and so anyways, you don't tend to do it. We've got a life absorber over here. It's okay. I think I'd rather take the freezing fog, just because we need slowing utilities right now, like things that are going to make the enemy give pause and kind of hang back for a minute. We'll go ahead and drop those two towers in right there. We do have a Thunder Spell ready to go. We've got to defeat 15 waves in order to get to the boss arenas. So let's see how it goes. I don't know if this deck can go the distance. I'm not really too sure, but that's a great spot right there for a bullseye. That's a fantastic spot for a bullseye. I love it. Unfortunately, firing speed on the bullseye is always going to be a little bit lackluster. I think they'll get it. Perfect. Looks good. With 2 more mana right here, I'll probably go for another archer right there and just save the mana for next round. If you do, you have a thing called overload, by the way. If your mana accumulates to a certain amount inside of your inventory, you'll start to get bonus mana, effectively like interest on the mana that you already have, almost like a banking thing. I haven't really built any decks that act around that idea as of yet, but it is a thing that you can do. Let's go ahead and put a disruptor over there to kind of soften up their resistances. This is a pretty lightweight wave. They should be able to hack it down. Especially since we've got like a double dip curve right here. Go ahead and upgrade you, I guess. I don't know if that's a wise decision, but hey, we've got cloaked enemies on the field, and he's the only one that can see cloaked enemies. Cloaked enemies are a special modifier. They are invisible to all of your turrets until something deals damage to them. That something can be a spell. That something can be really whatever you want it to be, but it just needs to deal 1 damage to knock them out of their cloak. Let's get another disruptor right there, another archer right there. We now have a tier 2 archer, which is great. We should be able to get up to tier 3 this time around. We do have some spells rocking. There are diminishing returns on slows and also stuns, in case you were wondering about that. The first stun is going to be much larger in duration than later stuns or repeated stuns, and allowing this guy to fire like once every 5 seconds is actually a lot better than having him fire. Let's go ahead and upgrade that to level 2, and then we will put in a basic archer right there. Actually, I'll put him on the corner right there because his range is actually somewhat limited. We do have an EMP coming through. What that means, actually, we won't need to. I was going to stun the guys in the back because the EMP was going to get in the way of us being able to deal damage to this guy, thus risking allowing them to sneak on through, but it looks like we're okay. Let's go ahead and get another bullseye, but we're going to set this bullseye up a little bit sneakier. I want the stun to happen while they're inside the range of my turrets. So we've got tanks, we've got medics. Okay. Yep, go ahead and knock down their resistances. We'll go ahead and thunder them right there. We'll freezing fog them right there. We're looking good. Very, very nice. We can get another bullseye right now. And since we're still a little bit low on slowing solutions, I do think that that's going to be a wise decision, especially with these runners coming through. I was going to say, I think we're going to need to fireball that runner right there just to finish him off. Okay, now may be the time for bombers. Let's go ahead and put a bomber on the corner right there. We're not set up in a great situation to deal with EMP bombs. Like, our grid is not great for EMP bombs. Like, it pretty much knocks out our entire grid whenever we knock out one of those EMPs. But we do have enough slowing, and we do have enough stunning utilities that I feel like we can kind of tank the EMP and keep on going. All right, so we've got another archer and another disruptor. I'll take it. We've got a hijacker on the field. A hijacker disables one of your towers until it's killed. Go ahead and put a slow on them. I'll put a slow on them. And down they go. We're doing pretty well right now. I was expecting to do a lot worse against the boss wave, or the boss wave in all honesty. What else did I have here? We'll go ahead and put another bomber. Okay, we've got an infantry medic wave. These can be a little bit tricky. Number 1 is down. They are clumped up a bit, but I'd like them to be clumped up even more for the mortars. Very nice. I will take another tier 2 bullseye. Okay, a couple of tanks coming through. We have no utilities if they break through this wave, unfortunately. So, like, that's just kind of life and where we are right now. However, I do think we have enough stun to where I think they're going to get bogged down in that corridor and get got. Actually, I don't think that the Disruptor is giving me the mileage that I was hoping it was going to give me. Like, it seems like it only knocks off one resistance, and so that might have been a bad pick. I don't normally play with that card, but whenever I make a video, I try to do my best to play around with other utilities and try new things out. Okay, EMP bombs went down. We're going to need a stun right there. I think one is getting through. Oh, no, they didn't get through. Wow, we pulled that one out in the end. I thought they were definitely getting through. Let's get a tier 2 bomber right there. I don't know where the bet. I feel like that covers more road. We'll get another Disruptor right there, too, because this is the final wave. So we've got a Berserker coming on in. Yeah, if you guys could whittle down. Oh, he doesn't have any resistances. All right, let's slow him up a bit. We're doing pretty good. He's getting mostly chain stun locked. Wow, he almost made it through. All right, add a new card to our deck. We've got a bunch of spells. Time Twist, Barricade, and Arsenal Gear. We're not really doing a spell deck, so I'm not going to take any of it. Start each combat with 3 spell mana. Harvest 1 more mana every round, but the enemies are 20% faster. You can reroll cards in your hand for 1 mana. I'm going to go for the extra mana and the plus 10% speed, because remember, their speed's being reduced by 10% right there. So we've actually fairly mitigated a lot of the downside to that card. We need to hit a shop, and so I'm going to try to take a double fight right here. I don't know how this is going to go. We got him. We're all right. Okay, so we want a basic bomber, like right there. They're doing like a figure 8 where they go like that, or I guess like a chain link type deal. We have a freezing fog utility right now. Oh. Well, I guess he gets through. Feels bad. I didn't react fast enough to that one. Let me slow down the game. That was my fault. I didn't react fast enough to the situation at hand. I could have actually completed that fight without taking any damage, but I was just kind of cruising and not paying attention and just like assuming that these early waves were going to be kind to me, and now I've taken damage for it. There are loads and loads and loads of ways to heal damage in this game, so don't worry too much about taking a damage here, a damage there, a trickle here, a trickle there. It's not really going to matter. You've got loads and loads and loads of ways to mitigate damage in this game, so don't stress about it. We get an archery tower right there, and then I'm going to do my best to give you my thoughts about Tower Tactics Liberation, because I do think it's actually a pretty cool game, and I'm glad to see that they're trying out new ideas with tower defense games nowadays, even if really it's just kind of hybridizing the core gameplay loop from like another card-based game. I do still welcome that change because I really do think that that's what tower defense games need. They need to start borrowing from other genres. I've seen it a little bit with kind of like RTS stuff. Like tower defense games have brought in like a little bit of active play RTS mechanics, but I do like that they folded in roguelike stuff, so let's discuss. Tower Tactics Liberation is a very good game. It surprised me. It's not necessarily absurdly difficult, but I think the magic of the game is kind of exists in the realm of power fantasy. So like this is one of those games that allows the player to make insanely overpowered builds that will just wipe the floor with everything in the game. And honestly, it's got a good breadth of gameplay as well available right now in its first early access. In its current iteration, it already has multiple ascension levels available, which are not tied to the character himself, but in fact are tied to the deck that you're playing, which means that you get even more replayability right there. There's a ton of things to unlock. There's loads of runes to purchase. There's a pretty solid chance that if the core Slay the Spire gameplay loop grabs you, that you're going to lose some time in this game. Gameplay-wise, there's a load of different towers, and they're all really, really unique, and it's really unfortunate that we didn't get any of the unique towers on this run, so you'll just have to trust me, but they are there. Everything from sprinkler turrets to ground-pounding earth turrets. There are turrets that slowly kill the enemy with sound wave migraines regardless of their position on the map. They are all available for your perusal. I've ran into 0 bugs so far. The game has run flawlessly, and so the early access, I would deem it stable in my opinion. As I mentioned earlier, I think the biggest area of improvement that I can see with this game is in the sound design. Adding a little bit more pop, clank, clack, boom to the turret soundtrack and hit markers when they collide with enemies, I think would go a really long ways towards making the game more immersive, but honestly, the core gameplay is good enough that I feel like that's a fairly minor gripe so long as the gameplay itself is good, and in fact, it is. I liked this game a lot. I enjoyed it. So anyways, my name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so that you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we had Tower Tactics Liberation. Tomorrow, we will more than likely have something else. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and that's about all that I've got for you. Oh yeah, one more caveat. There's not a lot of events in the game. So like the question mark tiles, there's not a lot of those. I almost forgot to mention it before I signed off. And so like you are going to see a lot of repeats on the question mark tiles. But other than that, everything else is really, really great. I'll see y'all later. Thank you for stopping on in. Take care, everybody, and that's all I got for you. Bye-bye.